welcome. It's so fun to see people from all over taking an interest in Dev Degree and Shopify. We're so excited to be spending the next about 50 minutes with you. Hopefully we can answer your questions and you can walk away knowing a little bit more about the program. So to kind of do some housekeeping up front here, we are going to be having a conversation about what Dev Degree is. You're going to be learning a little bit more about what it's like to be a student, what classes are like. We'll talk a little bit about university partners, and we're also going to touch a little bit on the application process. So if you're here to learn anything in that nature, we are very excited to share with you. I also am not alone. I have some wonderful humans with me who are Dev Degree interns currently participating in the program. I also have another one of my coworkers named Raymond, who is going to help facilitate some of the chat. He's going to help me with Q&A. He also is one of our technical instructors on the training path. So if you have questions about what you'll learn on the training path, now would be a really great time to ask him because we have an expert in the room who can help us. So we also will be recording this session, and it's going to go and live on our YouTube channel afterwards. So you don't have to worry about missing anything. You can always come back and rewatch to make sure you picked up anything that you may have missed. You can also feel free to take notes on anything presented here tonight. However you best absorb information, feel free to use that approach to make sure that you're getting the most out of the next hour. Now, Raymond in the chat is also going to drop a link to a Google form. I see it in there. Thank you, Raymond, so much. Now, we will do our best to pull your questions out of the chat if you ask in the chat, but sometimes the chat gets moving pretty quick and we can miss some questions. So the best way to get your question onto the board to be asked is to submit them through that Google form, and we'll be keeping an eye on that throughout the presentation. So with that, let's get started. We're going to have 5 sections of our presentation tonight. Up first is going to be, what is Dev Degree? We're going to give a quick high-level overview of what the program is and how it's structured. Then we're going to talk about student life and what it's like to actually be a student in the Dev Degree program. Then we're going to introduce you to some of the key teams that make up the Dev Degree program, and touch on the admissions process and the elements that go into admissions. About halfway through the call, so about, let's say another 20 minutes from now, we will be headed over to Q&A, and I'll bring some other folks up on stage who will be able to answer specific questions about their experience in the program. If you want to know advice for how you should go about the application, we have 3 folks who have applied to Dev Degree and been accepted who are happy to share their experiences with you. So go ahead, if you have questions, drop them in that Google form. For starters, let's talk about what Dev Degree is. Dev Degree is a work-integrated computer science program. It integrates academic work for an accredited computer science degree with hands-on developer experience to prepare you for full-time employment. Now, that's lots of kind of like jargony words, so I'm going to break it down a little bit for you here. This is what work-integrated learning looks like. It means that you will be part-time at Shopify. That's highlighted in this slide in pink and yellow. And you'll be spending half your time at university. And that's in kind of our honeydew color on that top line there. In the first year, you spend at university, typically you are going to be learning some fundamentals of computer science and taking introductory courses. And then at Shopify, at the same time, you will be taking what we call the training path, where you'll learn developer skills, technologies, and programming languages to prepare you for your first work placement. In the second, third, and fourth years at university, you will be moving into more advanced coursework, as well as the electives that you're interested in. And at Shopify, you will start, once you finish the training path, you are going to start on your first work placement. For each work placement, you will be placed on a development team where you'll contribute to the projects your team is working on. The purpose here is for you to learn how work is actually done and how software development is managed at a big tech company. And it prepares you for wherever the future then can take you because you've had so much experience working with the technologies that you're learning about. You'll have between 3 and 4 placements depending on how your school schedule shakes out. And that changes about every 8 to 12 months. This gives you a lot of opportunity to explore different technical disciplines and learn from different mentors across Shopify working on vastly different technologies. And your placements will be curated based on the things that you're interested in. So if you're very interested in front end and how humans interact with software, you can spend lots of your placements working on teams working on front end. If you're more of a back end person, we can help facilitate lots of back end placements so you get lots of exposure to those technologies. 3 to 4 years of so this it kind of put a bow on this all. 3 to 4 years of continuous hands-on experience at Shopify in parallel with attending classes gives you an opportunity to build your skills and prepare yourself for the real world. Let's talk about some key numbers that you'll pick up throughout this. The first is 3,000 plus hours of academic experience at university. This is going to be time spent working towards your computer science degree. Every single student who graduates from the Dev Degree program graduates with an accredited computer science degree that Shopify has vetted and we approve. Along with that, you will also be building an impressive resume of work experience. That's 3,800 hours of work experience at Shopify, where you're learning practical skills and tools that you aren't going to be taught in schools. And so putting those together really it puts you kind of, it helps you set yourself up for your career. There's the cobwebs that I need to dust off. First time back through an info session. Thank you for bearing with me. Finally, we also don't want finances to be a barrier to degree. So Shopify is going to cover the cost of the full tuition at any university partner that we partner with. So whether you go to Carleton, York, or Dominican University, we will cover the full cost of tuition. You will also receive an intern salary for the half of your time that you spend at Shopify working on Shopify projects. All told, that comes out to be well over $160,000 of value. You're going to get paid vacation in there. Hopefully what this number represents to you is that we deeply value the Dev Degree interns, and we want to make sure that they are set up for all success in the future. Now, one thing I do want to mention before moving on to the next slide is that even though there is no obligation to continue to work at Shopify full-time after you graduate. 3rd and 4th year students often receive offers to work full-time on the teams they're working on, but we support our interns' decision to either stay at Shopify or move on. We encourage them. We're your biggest cheerleaders. So we're happy when students decide that they want to pursue a career elsewhere. You are in no obligation to Shopify. With that checked off, let's go over and start talking a little bit about what the student experience looks like. So one thing that we need to touch on is university partners. You'll be spending about half of your time at the university partners. So of course we need to spend some time talking about them tonight. We have 3 university partners currently. The first one is Carleton University. That's located in Ottawa, Ontario. Then we have York's Lassonde School of Engineering, and that's in Toronto, Ontario. And then our first university partner in the United States is Dominican University of California. They're located in San Rafael, California. When you're considering applying to Dev Degree and also considering which partner university you might like to attend, you'll want to be thinking about a couple things as you're thinking through which ones you want to apply to. First up is location. As you can see, they are spread across different locations, so that's going to play a major factor. The next up is the campus itself. You can see there are some different options between on-campus and fully remote programs. We'll talk about that more here in just a second. And then another element is the actual degree that you would like to hold. Now, this is not important to everybody, but for some folks, it's very important, the name on their degree. So you can see that there are slightly different names on the degrees. They're all accredited computer science degrees. Shopify and Dev Degree have vetted the curriculum and the degree itself, and we support each of them deeply. So if the name on your degree is important to you, spend a lot of time with the university partners figuring out those intricate details about the degree itself. And then, of course, whether you would like to do it on campus or work remotely. Here is where I like to pause and call out that Shopify is a completely remote company, which means that Raymond and I are coworkers. We work on the same team. We are in the same daily stand-ups, and we report to the same manager. I've never met Raymond in person. I have seen Raymond through a lot of video calls. We work fully remote, and then a couple times a year we get together with our teams and do planning sessions and celebrate the work that we've accomplished. But as a company, we are fully remote, and digital by design is what we like to call it. Now, this is important to think about when you're thinking about the university partner that makes the most sense for you, because Carleton and York both are on-campus programs. Dominican offers an on-campus version, but also offers a fully remote version. So if you would like to do a fully remote dev degree program, it is possible through the Dominican University Partnership. I also need to note that during the pandemic, both Carleton and York are teaching remotely right now. They do anticipate returning to campus when it's safe to do so, but we don't have any timeframes on that right now. So that is something to keep in the back of your head, that at the moment, all programs are being taught fully remote, but Carleton and York are expecting to make on-campus, back to adopt on-campus again once it's safe for folks to return to campus. Express slightly different the balance of your time here. You can say that dev degree students will be splitting their time between school and work. About 20 hours a week you'll be spent at the university. This nets out to about 3 courses per semester. You'll be spending the remaining 25 hours of your week at Shopify. 20 of those hours will be working on teams, and then you have 5 hours which are going to be personal development time that's flexible throughout your program. Dev Degree is an accelerated program, so students continue to take courses throughout the summer, which is one of the major differences from a traditional campus or collegiate experience, is that you work year-round, both on courses and on Shopify work. This can make life pretty busy, so strong time management skills are definitely key to succeeding in the Dev Degree program. In your first year, you'll be balancing intro courses in the Dev Degree training path, and then after that, you'll be balancing university courses and real work, producing real software that your team is dependent on you to help write. So in order to make that work, students need to own their own schedules. I will show you what a potential student schedule can look like. So here's our example week for a Dev Degree student. And you can see that they are blending the work in the classroom time. This is really important because what we see happen when students blend the time together is that they walk out of class and they can immediately apply something they learned to a real project. And this makes the learning much deeper. A very fun example that I recently had, I was talking with a Dev Degree student and they mentioned sitting in class learning about recursion. And they were thinking, why would I ever want to use recursion? In the next week at his project on at Shopify, he had to implement something with a non-limited depth. And he immediately is like, oh, this is why recursion exists. And he can immediately apply that learning straight to work. And that makes it really powerful. So quick breakdown of how this student has chosen to spend their time. They start Monday mornings with their team, getting their week squared away at Shopify. And then in the afternoon, they transition to to being at campus and going to classes. On Tuesday, they spend all day at Shopify. Wednesday is a university day. Thursday, they finish up one final class in the morning, and then they transition to Shopify work in the afternoon, and then they wrap up the week with their team at Shopify doing Shopify work. Another piece that we get asked a whole bunch about in the student experience is the things that the program is built on. And these are what we call pillars for the Dev Degree program. There's 3 of them: learn by doing, grow through support, and own your own development. And I'm going to walk you through what each of those means to us here at Dev Degree. First, learn by doing. This is our North Star for the program. Dev Degree encourages you to do stuff, to find out what works and what doesn't work. We believe that failure is the best teacher. We provide the space for you to learn and try and fail and see how things actually are working. We aren't scared of you breaking things. In fact, we want you to break things because we believe it's a great way for you to test your skills and to build confidence. Grow through support. You don't have to do this alone. Life can come at you really fast, and having a strong support system is crucial for your success. We have a dedicated team of instructors and mentors and specialists to support you through the program. Our goal is to give you the peace of mind that you're learning and development, and you're learning development and communication skills that are best in the industry and will set you up for a really solid career. That being said, we also believe in owning your own development. Throughout the program, you will be provided with tools to succeed. You'll have an amazing support team. You'll be given a MacBook so you can complete all your work, a flexible schedule that you get to set around what time works best for you, a whole bunch of other resources that Shopify offers its interns. But it's up to you to take advantage of these tools and to own your own development. Are going to be here to support you every step of the way, but we also want to make sure that you're in the driver's seat and you are making the best as you work towards establishing the beginning of your career. Next up is the Dev Degree team. So, of course, we can't do all that support without a really excellent group of folks who come alongside and help mentor and teach the skills that you need to be able to transition into life as a full-time developer. So I'm going to walk you through the three teams that you'll be interfacing with as part of the Dev Degree team, or as part of the Dev Degree program. First up is the Training Path team. And like I mentioned at the top of the call, I actually have a member of the Training Path team here with me tonight. So if you have specific questions, there he is. Raymond's at the bottom of the screen. If you have specific questions about how the Training Path works, then make sure to put them in the Google form and we can get those answers for you because we have an expert with us. So the Training Path's job is it will teach you the fundamental skills you need to be successful in your first work placement. So you'll start the Dev Degree program learning developer skills and concepts and software technologies. And for just one example, we have one of the first classes you take we call Dev, which is an introduction to programming using Ruby open source language. Interns are guided through program concepts while building simple applications to solve problems. Topics include core CS fundamentals such as conditionals, loops, arrays, and classes. Interns will also learn professional development skills such as version control using Git, writing pull requests, and code review. This is one of the pieces that's really important about work integrated learning, is that not only are you learning about the technologies and how to write code, but you also are learning about how to maintain code and how to work with enterprise size code bases. Shopify has a lot of lines of code that make it work as a platform, and knowing the proper way to engage with that code is really important for your success as a developer, which is why we like to start the program off with students understanding, getting exposure to it. Things about the training path that the courses are designed to be more like work than they are school. We want you to start to get used to the work environment. And so the training path feels different than your university classes, but you're still also very immersed in a learning phase for the first year of the program. And then once you're finished with the training path, you're ready to start your first placement, which means it's time for the placement team. The placement team will be your best friend when it comes to finding work placements. And it's actually one of the key differences between Dev Degree and a traditional co-op program. Co-op programs are really popular in Canada. If you're joining us from the US, it's a little less popular, but it just means that you're going to be doing some kind of work and studying at the same time. But there's a key difference here, and that's that with Dev Degree, the placement team is going to help find your work placements and your internships for you. So the placement team supports students in finding new teams and projects. Work experience is a major part of Dev Degree program, and we want to make sure that you're getting the most out of each placement. So the team that helps you do this works closely with all of Shopify's dev teams, as well as each individual Dev Degree student to ensure compatibility and fit, and to make sure that each student is getting exposure to the things that they're interested and passionate about, so they can continue to build on their skills and set themselves up for success in their career. And one of the great parts about the Dev Degree program is that the placements team will handle all of the logistics that come with moving teams or finding a new team to join to help you so that you can focus on just becoming a really great developer. Last, but certainly not least, is the student success team. These amazing humans are going to be your cheerleaders, your coaches, confidants, and counselors throughout the entire journey at Dev Degree. The student success team will help you build strategies to take on all that Dev Degree asks of you. They will also help you develop practices for positive work-life balance and design a work style to help you reach your potential. And they will be with you every step of the way. They are wonderful humans. Great. So now you know a little bit about the Dev Degree program from a high level. You have heard about like a student experience and how we balance calendars and how students get to build the schedule that works best for them, and that we're going to be focused really hard on learn by doing. You've met the teams that make Dev Degree work. So let's talk about emissions. Maybe you came to this info session and you're like, hey, I just want to kind of feel out what is this Dev Degree thing all about? And you're thinking, actually, this sounds pretty cool. Well, I have some good news for you, which is that our applications are currently open and you can apply on our website. If you want to spend more time learning about the admissions process, on devdegree.ca, on the admissions tab, we'll walk you through step-by-step how we go through the admissions process, including what's expected of you in describing what the interviews look like. I'm going to grab some water real fast. If you spend some time on the website and you are excited and you're ready to apply, you can go ahead and click any of the Apply Now buttons, and you'll be taken to a page that looks like this. This is a platform called Smart Recruiters, and it's how every single person who works at Shopify applies for their job. So it's a little bit different than the website, but don't panic. This is very much the real thing. You click that green button up in the right-hand corner that says, I'm interested, and you will start your first step of the application. The application has 3 steps. There's the general application, then the personal statements, and finally the computational thinking questions. And I will walk you through what each of those looks like real fast here, and then we'll move into Q&As and start to get all your questions answered. So if you click I'm interested, you'll start an application that looks a lot like this. You can see Toby Lutka, who is the CEO of Shopify, has decided to apply to Dev Degree again. In his place of residency is Shopify. The first part of the application is very simple. It's general information about you as a student and what you're interested in. You don't have to spend very much time on this section of the application. When we review your application, we will spend the majority of our time reviewing your personal statements and computational thinking questions. Once you've submitted the general application, you will receive in an email the links to both the personal statements and the computational thinking questions. The personal statements will look like this, and there will be some question prompts that you're going to be asked to work through and write short essays about. One of the things that I want to call out as kind of like a pro tip is that Smart Recruiters is not the best place to write these in. You want to write these in a Google Doc or Word doc, or if you're a pen and paper kind of person, that's great too. But write it on a different platform and just copy and paste the answer over into Smart Recruiters. It will save you a lot of headache. Pay attention to the word count limit, because we actually do have to keep that serious so that we can actually make it through all the applications. You will also receive in that email, after you've submitted the general application, a link to the computational thinking questions. Now, these sound scary. I promise they're not. They are just simple questions to help test your aptitude for being thinking like a computer scientist. So they are a little bit like kind of think about like math questions, but it's very doable. Just kind of spend your time, take your time with them. If you're in an info session in September, you have lots of time before the deadline, so you can take a lot of time working on your personal statements and your computational thinking questions so you feel really confident about them. Just like the personal statements don't work on the computational thinking questions inside of Smart Recruiters, you will have a document that you're going to be a Google Doc that has the questions that is going to be sent in your email. You can just go ahead and copy that, and then you can work on your answers and just copy and paste the answers over when you are ready to submit your application. You can submit the personal statements and the computational thinking questions in whichever order you would like. There is no set order for submitting them. Just be mindful that on February 13th is the last day at midnight. We will be able to accept applications, so you'll want to make sure that they're both submitted by then. Okay, that was a little bit about Dev Degree, a little bit about student life, a little bit about the program, the teams that make up the program, and the application process. If you have questions, I want to call out We spend a lot of time trying to keep our website up to date with the most relevant information, so make sure you've checked out devdegree.ca. We have help and tips for you in our YouTube channel. Tristan, who is our lead recruiter, has been very kind to do a video about each of the personal statements and why we are asking that question and how you can go about answering that question. Highly encourage you to spend some time on those YouTube videos. And finally, we are available and we will respond to your questions if you email us at info@devdegree.ca. Tristan and I take turns answering questions in there, and we do our best to respond in a timely manner. So if your question isn't answered tonight when we switch into Q&A mode, feel free to send us an email and we will do our best to get you answers to your questions. With that, I am going to stop sharing my screen and I'm going to ask my friends to come up on the screen with me and we will transition into what I believe is the much more interesting part of tonight, which is letting you talk to actual dev degree interns. So welcome to the stage, everybody. How about we start with Jerry? Jerry, let's do a quick round of introductions. Do you just want to start with who you are, your university partner, and what's your current placement that you're working on?
Yep, sounds good. So, hi, I'm Jerry. I'm a second-year student at Carleton University, and I'm working on a data placement at Shopify.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us, Jerry. I'm looking at my screen, and next up, it's Mitch. So, Mitch, how about you tell us a little bit about who you are, your university partner, and your placement?
Cool, thanks. Yeah, so my name is Mitch. I am a fourth-year dev degree student. I go to Carleton University in Ottawa. And yeah, I'm super excited to be here. I'm in my fourth and final dev degree placement right now, working as a front-end developer on one of our product teams. And yeah, super excited to be here. And yeah, go Ravens. Let's go.
Go Ravens. Maria.
Hey.
Who are you?
Okay. Yeah. Hi, my name is Maria. I am also in my fourth year, but I go to York University in Toronto, Canada, and I am in my fourth placement as well, and it is a production engineering placement. So all things in the cloud and yeah, very fun stuff. And I've done 4 completely different placements. So front end, back end, data engineering, and production engineering. And you can watch my YouTube channel to see videos about that. I'm gonna plug, watch my videos so you can see what it's like. You just Google my name and you'll find them.
I am a huge fan of Maria's YouTube channel. It is, I think, an excellent representation of what it looks like to beginning your career in computer science.
Yeah.
If Maria, feel free to put a link to your YouTube channel. I'm a huge fan of Maria's YouTube.
Thank you, Tucker.
Last but certainly not least is our training path expert himself. Raymond, can you tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do as part of the dev degree team?
Sure, I can, Tucker. Hi, everybody. My name is Raymond. I am a technical instructor on the training path team. And what I do is I work closely with the first-year interns. So these are pretty much potentially you next year joining the dev degree program, working on the training path and I'm helping you building your skills from the assumption of no technical background to being able to ship code within the first 8 months on your placement team. So we're going to help you get prepared, also connect the dots between school, so you'll learn academic stuff from school and hands-on practical experience here at Shopify and merge them together.
Thank you so much, Raymond. Maria has dropped the link to her YouTube channel. Go check it out. It's incredible. I think, so now we're going to transition into answering some of the questions that we've collected earlier. I do see one question in the chat that I know the answer to, being someone who spends a lot of time thinking about marketing and admissions. So I'm just going to quick knock that one off. The question that we're going to start with is, can you talk a little bit about the early admission, if there is one, and when Shopify will get back to applicants? We do have an early admissions date this year. It's in December. You can see the exact date on the website. If you apply then, that gives you the best chance of being one of the first applicants to be reviewed in our application cycle. We will communicate back our decision with every single applicant who applies to the dev degree program. It's something that we're very passionate about. We want to make sure that you are not left hanging. So we answer every single applicant. Applications close. The final deadline is in February. And by the end of March, we will have communicated that first round of decisions with just about every single person. And then we'll start scheduling interviews in May. So that is the quick timeline. There is an early admissions deadline. It's in mid-December. The exact date, I don't remember off the top of my head because I've been building this info session deck all day. But it's on the website, I promise. You can find the exact date. And that will put you at the top of the queue to get your response back. Moving over to the questions that we received in the Google form, and you can feel free to continue to add things in there. Paul, thank you. December 13th is the date. Woo, what a day. First up, there's a really great question that came in. So let me start with asking, I think all three of the interns would be great to hear from on this. What advice would you have to someone who is applying to the dev degree program for the 2022 cohort? How about Maria? Let's start with you. What advice would you have for an incoming student who is working through their application?
Oh, yeah, I get this question a lot. I think what I've heard from one of the people who is like one of the dev degree team who like reads these through and like reads so many of them and then she fills out a rubric. I think what she told me once that like stuck with me, and she told me this a few years ago, was that you have to not just like brag about what you've done. I guess like not just be like, oh yeah, I was the head of this club or I did these cool things, so you should want me and take me into this program, and like I guess be super arrogant, or just I don't know, try to be more or don't not say the things that you do, but don't be arrogant about it. Or just I think what she said that stands out to her is when she sees people doing things for others or for their community. So like maybe like in high school, I started a club, and then like how it helped other people, or like how I built the community with that, or like when you're like I was in the badminton club and I would like teach people how to play badminton, and then that kind of thing. Like, you know, building a community and being a nice person is something that people look for, because you know it's all about like who you're working with and if they're a nice person, and anything that's unique about you, like writing about like your past and like what makes you unique, I guess, is something that's important to include in your application, like when you're answering your questions. So think about those questions and take time before answering them.
Yeah, I love that. Especially so early in the cycle. Please, you can absolutely take your time to work on your questions. Jerry, what about you? What would your advice be for someone who is applying to the program? You are also relatively new to the dev degree program. You just on your first work placement right now, right?
Yeah.
So you have just gone through the application process relatively recently. What would you tell someone who's about to go through it?
Yeah, so I think that my major takeaway for the application process is to try to like convey your interest in learning aspects of computer science rather than just stating what you already know, because over time there will be new technologies, and I guess it'll be much more beneficial if you can demonstrate that you're like very excited about learning new things, collaborating with various other developers, and building connections. I think they're all very valuable aspects in the application process. So that's my take on it.
Awesome. Mitch, how about you round this out? What would your advice to a potential dev degree applicant be?
Yeah, no, I think a lot of the stuff that was brought up already is like really great. I think like the biggest thing is just like taking your time, making sure that you're just like being intentional about what you're writing, and not just like I think it's got to be a lot more about the person itself, because it's like if you think about it, like dev degree is, or like Shopify is hiring you kind of like in a lot, like they're hiring you on the potential that you have to make an impact at the company. And so I think explaining like you as like an overall person is like really helpful. So like I spoke about things like that I would not have included in like a regular job application, because it wasn't like that. It's more like it's kind of like an all-encompassing thing, because you're doing school, you're doing work. It's like a much larger investment of time. So I included things like previous jobs, passions, interests, and stuff, because I wanted to make sure that I was like coming across as like my genuine self. And I definitely think that's the best way to do it, because if you do that in your application, it'll be much easier when you start. If you go on to the next level and you become and start actually having interviews and stuff, like if you talk about stuff that's not really like what you're passionate about or like not really true, then it's not going to really work out when you're talking to a real person. So I would just recommend being genuine and like bringing up your interests and stuff. And yeah, that's it. Hope that was clear.
Awesome. Thank you all so much. Stacy with no E asked a question in the comment that I want to make sure that everyone hears the answer to, which is, do students get admitted who don't come from a technical background? That question is 100% yes. Every year, there are dev degree students who have never written a line of code in their lives, who will be starting from complete scratch. So do not let a lack of technical expertise be the reason that you decide not to apply. Every year we accept students who have never had any coding classes or have taken a tutorial, haven't done anything. So don't let that block you. Absolutely apply. Technical expertise or technical exposure before the program is in no way expected. Raymond has been monitoring the Q&A. Do you have another question queued up for us from the Google form?
Sorry, I was turning on my mic. Right now, I do have a question, and it's actually on what was everyone doing before the dev degree, before joining dev degree?
Awesome. Maria, do you want to give us a quick rundown? What were you working on and what were you doing before you joined dev degree?
High school. I don't know. I actually hated computer science in high school, and I was only put into it because I think they needed more girls in the class in my school because there were no girls. So I kept trying to sign up for cooking because I wanted to learn how to cook. And then my guidance counselors kept putting me in computer science. And I didn't like the environment because it was all guys who are not very friendly. And yeah, so I didn't like computer science. And then I actually applied. I was into biology, so I wanted to do something with that. But then I decided I don't want to do biology in grade 12 and went into my first semester of engineering. And that's when I found out about dev degree and actually switched. So I kind of joined the program a few months late. And that was like the first year that we had at York and Toronto. So then it was the first cohort. So the first group of students. And yeah, that was what I was doing before. So I did have a tiny bit of coding experience, but just like Visual Basic and Java, which are not, or like Java you will use in school and like in the real world, but it was a very like tiny bit of coding experience. So I was not very fancy or super technical, but yeah, and you can learn stuff on your own. Like during the summer, I would try learning, or like the summer before university, I started learning like JavaScript and that kind of stuff. So yeah, not too technical. And I didn't like computer science in high school. So you guys are probably way better off than I am, like because you actually were like, you're into it and then you want to apply to this and you know about it. So that's really great.
Awesome. Looking through the Q&A or the questions submitted, and we've gotten a lot of questions. So we're going to try and bucket them into some broad categories. And there are several questions asking about if there's age limits. There is no age limit to apply to dev degree. We've had students as old as 50 years old decide to join dev degree. And so there's no upper limit. You are absolutely applicable, or you're absolutely eligible to apply. Some of the other quick ones I'm going to knock off about admissions related questions. There's questions about location. So you can apply if you live anywhere in the world, you can apply to dev degree, but you do have to reside in the US or Canada during the program. So that is going to be an element that you're going to have to consider, but we do accept applications from around the globe. To participate in the program, though, you do have to relocate to the US or Canada. And then one other question that I saw is related to visas. There's lots of questions about visa requirements. So as part of the dev degree program, you will have a student visa with the university partner because you will be spending half your time at school. So you are covered by a student visa, and then the work hours are covered under each of the student visas that you apply to. So the visa is part of the application to the university that you apply to. You will work through, if you're an international student, you will have a visa process. And once you obtain your visa, then it will also allow you to spend time working at Shopify. Okay, let's see what other questions we have here in the chat or in the Google form.
So there is one actually, and it's, are there any requirements from Shopify after graduating from the dev degree program?
Requirements being like commitments. If the question is about commitments back to Shopify, the answer is no. You don't sign a contract saying that you will continue to work with Shopify. Students are completely free to go and pursue careers elsewhere if they would like to. I'm just looking at the top one from the chat. Do we need to enter details in the text box for message to recruiter? You do not need to spend much time on this. You might want to tell us a little bit about who you are, kind of like high level context, but you don't have to spend a ton of time on it because, again, like I mentioned in the presentation, we will spend most of the time on your personal statements and your computational thinking questions. So if I was to tell you to prioritize one, I would prioritize the personal statements and the CTQs over answering things or then spending a lot of time polishing your resume or something like that.
This one just came in from Paul on the top of the screen. Can you discuss the relationship between admission decisions between Shopify and university partners?
Yeah, sure. There was also a bunch of questions about this in the Q&A. So I will try and address it a little bit as broadly as I can. So the dev degree application is separate from the university application. You will apply to dev degree sometime between now and our final deadline, which is in February. And then you will also apply to the university partner of your choice. So you can apply to, as someone asked, if applying to more university partners increases your chances of being accepted. It does not. Students can attend whichever one of the university partners they would like. It does not affect your decision, but you will do multiple rounds of applications. One for dev degree, and then as many of the university partners as you would like to apply to, you can. Acceptance to the program requires you to be accepted to both dev degree and to one of our university partners in order to participate. So you want to keep that in mind and make sure that you're watching those deadlines for the universities as well.
What? Then Tucker, one more thing then. So let's say that you're applying for a university, but you notice that you're maybe missing a course. Like maybe you haven't completed like a requirement from, let's say, York. That's like chemistry or physics. Because they didn't take it in high school. So is there any exceptions for this for students applying for a dev degree?
Yeah, so if this is specifically a York question, York has a really excellent program to help students catch up on courses they may be missing in the application process. So in those cases, absolutely reach out to the admissions department of each of those universities. They will happily walk you through how they almost always have a process for you to be able to take the courses that you may be missing in case you didn't take them in high school, or if it's been a few years since you've been in high school. They definitely have opportunities for you to do that. I do want to jump back. I saw another question as I'm looking through the Q&A form here for the dev degree interns, which is, can you tell us about your favorite placement? And Mitchell, I know that you have done 4 of them, right, at this point? So can you walk us through your favorite placement and why that one's your favorite?
Sure. Yeah, I guess I'll kind of just go through like my placements that I have done. So my first one was more of like an introductory, like sort of just like front end general placement. And that was really cool. And I kind of got a lot of kind of like started my whole journey, which is awesome. And then from there I went to a back end role, and I kind of realized that that wasn't for me. But that was kind of the great thing about this whole thing, is that you can experiment and try things out. If you don't like something, then you always have the next one to do. And then for my third placement, which is by far been my favorite placement, was actually working on the Shop app, which is one of the subsidiaries that Shopify has, as a front-end React Native developer. And so that was a fantastic experience, because I'm just like personally really passionate about like front-end development, like being close to the end user and stuff. So that was like super fun to be able to like show a bunch of features and stuff. And I think it's just great. And this just kind of highlights like how dev degree can help you, because like I started at Shopify without any prior experience, and now I'm able to have gone through almost the entire program and have shipped so much production code and just having a fantastic time. So that's what I would say is my favorite placement. But I only started my 4th placement like a few weeks ago, so I don't know if that one can really be counted yet. But yeah.
Maria, you have also had several placements at this point. Can you tell us a little bit about your favorite and why it was your favorite?
Well, I don't know if I have a favorite. I think my first one was really fun because it was the only one I did in person, and it was kind of like working on a startup within Shopify. So it was like a group of 40-ish people working on building something like external to Shopify. And it was really fun because we would always sit at like a big table at the lunchroom, like and like eat lunch together, and I would get to know them. And it was just like it was such a good experience. And my mentor was so great. Like he is by far the best mentor I've ever had. And I still talk to him every month. We still meet and talk because he's just the best. But that was a front end placement, and I'm the opposite of Mitchell, and I don't like front end as much. Like I thought it was cool. I thought it was, I'm like, it's not for me. It's not my favorite. And then I did a back end placement, where it was kind of a mixture of front end and back end, so more full stack. And that was like working on the apps like ecosystem area. that that was interesting, and just did a data engineering placement. And you can see videos about that and also the backend one. And I wrote some article about the front end one as well. I have too much content basically. And the data engineering one was really cool, but it was very difficult, I feel like, because I had never taken any courses about big data. So it was all learning things on the job. And then whenever people would say something to me like, oh, just do this thing, and I'm like, I don't know what any of this means. Like I have no idea. So it was hard for me to do that, but it was a lot of fun because I learned so much. And I got to build many like cool things I'm happy that I got to do, and like try out different stuff, like so many different things, and work in a programming language or like with technologies that I really enjoy and I learned more about. And then my current one that I just started a few weeks ago, I think it's going to be my favorite because I feel like this is what I'm more passionate about. Like production engineering is really cool, and it's something that I've wanted to do. And I specifically like took courses at school that I'm interested in that relate to production engineering. So it kind of shows that I'm more passionate about that. Like, I don't know, I work on the network platform team now. So it's like how all the clusters are connected together in the cloud. And it's very fun. And I'm excited like to actually be able to contribute to this team and learn as much as I can. And like my teammates are super fun. So I think that's what you'll see at Shopify. It's like the culture is really good because the people are so nice and they're always willing to help you and like learn with you and like teach you stuff. I think that's what, like, it's always about the environment. That's what kind of makes it so great. It's just there's a good learning environment. And I think that's why it's hard to choose a favorite placement because they're all so fun, like in different ways. But I think that technically, like I like probably, or I thought that I would like backend more, but maybe I don't. Maybe I don't know, but you never know. But it's all been fun.
Awesome. Thank you both for that. Jumping back over to some quick questions I can try and knock off about the admissions process. There are several questions in the Google form about applying if you already have a bachelor's degree. We can accept students who have already completed a bachelor's degree with one exception. We can't accept students who already have a computer science degree. So if you've already earned a computer science degree, unfortunately, the dev degree program isn't a great fit for you because you've already gone through a whole CS degree and you hold that bachelor's. But any other bachelor's, yes, you can join the dev degree program if you're ready to go back to school and spend some time learning again. And then I saw one other one I wanted to call out. I saw lots of folks asking. I think we have already addressed this, but it's been asked several times, so I will answer it again, which is, will applying to multiple university partners increase my chances of getting in? The answer on the dev degree side is no. It does not increase your chances if you decide to apply to all three, but it does increase your chances of getting into one of your university partners. So if you want to make sure that you have the best chance possible, it may make sense to apply to more than one. So your first bachelor's in is agriculture. Yes, you are good to go in and apply. Let's see if we have another question here that we can ask the dev degree students who have graciously spent time letting us know about their experience. And this one is a great one. Jerry, can you tell us a little bit how you balance your time between school and work and how you make that work?
Yeah, sure. So basically, I think a lot of the dev degree interns also use this, but I use Google Calendar, usually to just block off like focus time to just focus on whether it's Shopify work or Carleton courses, and as well as just important due dates for assignments and other events. And I find it to be really useful to just see like everything like on one page. And it helped me a lot to manage a lot of my time. So yeah.
Awesome. Maria or Mitchell, anything to add about how you've, after 4 years in the program, how you've balanced the work-life balance?
Yeah, I can go. I think one of the biggest things that I've done consistently through dev degrees, like I always make sure that my days are like, and this works for me, but it's different for each person. But I always make sure that like when I'm on one mode, whether that's school or work, I'm not like going back and forth or like concerning myself with the other one. So if I'm, for example, if I'm working at work, I'll not deal with anything from school until it's like that designated time. So I have to have like clear set boundaries for that. And that's all. And then I think also too, it's like you have to also factor in time where you're just like kind of chilling and you're not like working or doing school or anything. Because that's also really important. And not burning out is like is a huge thing to prioritize. And so I think it's actually balancing three things. It's like your school time, your work time, and when you're not doing anything, because that's like equally important for like maintaining that, like making sure that you're able to do everything else, right? So I think just like making sure that there's like clear distinctions between stuff is what's worked for me.
Awesome.
Awesome. Yeah, I got a question for the interns from Damon. So what did everybody decide to learn during those 5 hours a week of self-development? Let's kick it off to Maria.
Do I even use those properly? I don't know. Like sometimes I will just schedule like 25 hours to work and then just work more. You learn during work too. But then at times I would try, like especially near the beginning, like in my first or second placement, I would try to schedule time like at the beginning of the day, like from 9 to 10 a.m., like learning stuff, like going through a textbook, like about Ruby on Rails or about Python or something, like some technology that I want to learn or get better at. And then like go through that and read that and like take notes or like do some tutorials. So I used to do that, but now I don't. So I don't know if Mitch or Jerry can give some advice about that. I would definitely appreciate it.
Yeah, I think I can comment. So I usually use those 5 hours to either, because like I'm on my first placement, I don't have as a lot of experience yet. So I often like talk to my mentor on like what online courses or books they can recommend to me to learn more about software design and general computer science principles. And I mainly just spend like schedule 5 hours a week just to learn better, so I can just understand more. Yeah.
Awesome. I see a question floating around here about when should we apply for the partner university timeline wise in relation to the dev degree application? There is no the application that you need to submit first, but you need to be really mindful of the application deadlines for each of the partner universities. So if you have a university in mind, as soon as this is over, I would encourage you to go check what the deadline is for applying, because you do have to apply to both dev degree and our partner university before application deadlines. And most universities have an application deadline of sometime in early January if you're graduating high school. And then there are some exceptions for people like international students or mature students. So there's a lot of obviously unique situations that come into play when it comes to applying for college. I would say the deadline for the dev degree application, and you also can find the application deadline for all of our partner universities should be listed on their websites. And if you can't find it, you can always email the admissions departments, and they will be happy to also help you with a deadline for applying. What? Okay, so here's a really great one. We're coming up to the last time, so I think this is going to be our last question. a question maybe for anyone who has thoughts on it is, what will make my application stand out? I have some thoughts about this that I can come back to, but does anyone else want to give some advice about what can help your application stand out before I kind of round this out here?
I mean, I've only ever seen my one application, so I don't know how it differentiates from anybody else's.
How did you think about making your application stand out?
I think I just leaned into like the things that I knew I was like good at, like, and just spent more time talking about that. So like for the personal questions where you have kind of more freedom, like, I don't know, like I just made sure that I was really focusing on like my like volunteering and like previous work experience, even though it wasn't technical. And again, just being genuine about who I am. But I think you might, yeah, I think you probably might have the best insight on this, Tucker.
Yeah, I think that you really hit the nail on the head with the piece about being genuine. I read a lot of applications, not just for dev degree, but for applications to work at Shopify. And it's very easy to tell when someone is writing the answer that they think you want to hear. And I know that sounds crazy, but every single time I can tell if someone is trying to write an answer to make the person who reads it think that they are a good fit. The best possible thing you can do to make your application stand out is show the things that you're passionate about that they don't have to be anything related to computer science. Last year, a dev degree applicant had their application stand out by simply talking about how passionate they were about their volleyball team. We want to see passion. We want to see dedication, your experience about learning from failure. I will just openly admit this to all of you. The failure question is one in the personal statements that we often find that people are hesitant to answer because they're afraid if they talk about a real failure, it will immediately discount them from being like through a review process. This is not the case at all. Most of the time what we see is people talk about what I consider a fake failure. This is like things look like it's going really bad, and then the last minute it turns around and everyone's happy at the end. We don't consider that a failure. We want to honestly talk about a moment where things actually didn't end up the way that you expected them to end up, because we truly believe that learning from those experiences is a really valuable skill to learn, because we are going to fail every single day. And we need to be able to understand how to approach failure, how to sit with failure and feel the emotions that come with it, and then be able to learn something from it down the road. So I would say genuinely write about the things you're passionate about. Talk about real failure experiences that you've gone through and you've experienced in your life. And then just be genuine at every single question. Don't try and write the answer you think we want to hear. Write the answer that you want to provide for that question, and your application will definitely stand off the page.